This video is part of a full podcast, link in the description for the full podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. Enjoy the video. How's the season started under Ange Postecoglou? Because, wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone probably better than expected. As you say there, you're impressed. I think everyone is. It's gone much better than people thought they would. Ange coming in as sort of a bit of an underdog manager, proved himself in other leagues, but obviously the Premier League's a different ball game, really. So we've been really enjoying life under Ange. He's a breath of fresh air compared to sort of the Conte and Jose eras at the club. So at the moment, can't complain, really.
Absolutely, and I mean, it has been an excellent start to the season, but we are looking at Postecoglou here because he's obviously the new thing, you know. Was he in last time I spoke to you? He may have. I
I
think he
think he
wasn't.
might have
Wasn't he?
just come in.
He might have
Yeah,
just come in, but it was definitely before the season started. Cause it was
yeah.
just after Kane had left. That's right. It was just
Mm.
after. It was just after Harry Kane had left, and we weren't sure what to expect from him. We were sort of going, he could be good, and and you know, you said that Spurs were willing to give him time. However, I was sort of sitting again, well, you've said this 7 times now. I mean, I was having a scroll through your posts early on actually, and I saw the thing about Perisic, and somebody went, "He's been here for 3 years," and you were like, "No, he's only been here for a year." I was like, "Is he really only been there
Yeah.
for a year?" I sat there and I
Seriously,
thought,
the last year with Conte and stuff just dragged on
I thought,
forever. It was a real depression in the sort of
I
Spurs
thought
fan base
Perisic
of
has
that.
actually only been there for a year. It's crazy
Yeah.
because it doesn't feel like it. You know, it feels like he's been a Spurs. All those Spurs players feels like they've been there for ages. But Suma feels like he's been there longer than a season at this point.
Mm.
Um, But Postecoglou has clearly changed things around with an excellent start to the season. You know, second in the league, 13 points. How good do you think he could actually be? Like, what is his ceiling? Could he go on to become Pep Guardiola levels and win you Champions Leagues? That's the trophy you win when you win the final, by the way. And, you know, these kind of tournaments. Could he go on to do that? Or is he sort of going to stop at being a top four kind of manager?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there it's a little bit early to jump to
Hmm.
conclusions. We're only 5 games in, 13 points, so similar start to Arsenal. So yeah, it'd be way too early to jump to any outrageous claims. But look, he's brought a positive feeling to the club. Everyone's sort of happy again. We're finally playing that sort of front foot attacking football that Tottenham have really been known for quite a lot of the history. So he hasn't had any massive tests yet. You could argue Man United was big, but you can see how Man United have been this season. They've been shambolic, really. So you can argue that wasn't much of a test anyway. Um, but yeah, look, I think he's one of those managers that you want, like you wish him to take you far because he seems like an all round nice bloke. Spurs clearly trust him. They've given him a 4 year deal, so it's not one of those Conte things where he's only in it for one season then gives up. It's clearly a project, so you never know with the time given. I don't see why he can't become a top manager.
No, okay. And then obviously, I do want to move on to the man who we've already mentioned, Harry Kane. Obviously, when we last recorded, his departure had just been made official. But Daniel Levy recently has come out and said that there's a buyback clause within that deal. Now, I do believe it's not an actual buyback clause, and it's just a right of first refusal. So, if he is to move to any, I think that's only for the Premier League as well, if I'm correct. What is actually going on with Harry Kane, and it is possible for him to return to Spurs after 2 or 3 years at Bayern? Do you think it will happen, and sort of what are the conditions surrounding that deal?
Yeah, so for a bit of context, Spurs had a sort of fan forumy thing, a little sit down with the board. So Daniel Levy, you had Sonny there, and the women's captain Bethany England, and the
Yeah.
women's head coach as well. And the fans are asking those questions. And as you say, the question came up: is there a buyback clause for Kane? Because there have been a few sort of questions here and there from people, and he said, yeah, there was, but then pretty much a couple of hours later or the next morning, a lot of the sources around the club are coming out saying, well, hang on a minute, it's not really a buyback clause, but as you say, a sort of right of first refusal, a chance to match a fee that Bayern accept if Tottenham want to.
Hmm.
Um, Again, then the future relies on Kane and would he want to come back or not. But at the moment, I just don't think it's anything we should be even considering. We've got to come to terms with, yes, Kane is probably one of our, if not our greatest player in Tottenham Hotspur history, in my opinion. But he's gone now, and we need to get over it. And if I'm being totally honest, I'm over it as well. Sort of
Mhm.
forgotten about him now. Let him do his thing in Germany. If he wins, he wins. If he loses, he loses. So just move forward with it. Maybe in a couple of years, if he wants to come back, we can consider it. But again, in a couple of years, he's going to be going 33, 34,
Mhm.
35. So is he going to be at the top of his game? It's a bit of a different question. But for now, I think we just let him play his time out in Germany and be more concerned with ourselves.
And obviously, you're looking at that striker situation. Last time you were on here, we spoke about getting in a new striker. We were speaking about Gift Orban as a possibility. Looking back on the summer window now, Richarlison has scored a goal, which came few and far between last season. Still got more than Mudryk though, which I'm sure both of you will enjoy with no Chelsea representative here tonight. Um, how do you look back on that decision not to bring in a main striker? Obviously, we've seen Son do that as well so far this season and before in the past when Kane was injured. How do you look back on the decision to not bring in any new star striker? And do you think Richarlison will be able to sort of take that position alongside Son and either Solomon or Kulusevski?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite disappointing when you look at how much we got for Kane. It was like 120 million quid in the end. So you sort of would have thought maybe we can bring a top striker in. We brought in Brennan Johnson, but he's not a number
No, of
nine.
course.
He can play there if he has to, but he's more of a winger.
Hmm.
Again, we paid 50 odd million for Richie, so you'd like to think it would be his time to step up. Son can play there too. So yeah, it was disappointing we didn't get anyone, but I sort of had a sneaky feeling we never would, so I never really got my hopes up. And the prices for strikers nowadays are ridiculous, with Chelsea splashing cash on literally anyone they can find. So again, you see like Kolo Muani that Spurs are interested in. He went to PSG for 80, 90 million in
Yeah,
the end. You think we're just not going to pay something like that. And we can't match the wages that PSG are going to give, like £500,000 a week or whatever. So I was disappointed, yeah, but again, it's something we can come to in January if we have to. Just see how it plays out for now. Ange himself said that literally from his first couple of weeks at Spurs, he was always planning for life without Kane because he sort of knew deep down and through chats with Daniel Levy that Kane probably 90% wasn't going to be there at the end of the window. So Ange prepared for it, and I think if he really did want a striker, he would have got one, but he obviously wasn't 100% sure. So we sort of signed around that. And again, as I say, Sonny can play there, and hopefully it's a bit of a better season for Richie.
for sure. And then last but not least, I want to look to the future with Tottenham because do you think things are finally moving forward? We've had a lot of seasons where it's either been backwards or steady progress ever since Mauricio Pochettino left the club. In all honesty, you look at the managers you've had since people like Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, winners yes, but people who definitely haven't progressed the club from that position of being in that Champions League final. Um, are things finally moving forward, or is there possibly a slight trepidation, you could say, within that Spurs fan base to fully believe in the project again?
Yeah, I think I'd say 99% of the fans are fully behind Ange. There's always that 1% who are a little bit odd in that aspect, but
Hmm.
everyone that I know has backed him. People were skeptical when he came in, and even I was skeptical when he came in. But look, he's hit the ground running. He's doing well. He's such a lovable guy as well. Everyone's behind him. You can never get too far ahead of yourself at Spurs and in football in general, I guess. But the atmosphere is positive right now. So living in the moment is good to see. And I think the general consensus around the fan base is that we are on that sort of steady way up. There's going to be a couple of hits every so often. Sheffield United was very, very close at the weekend just gone.
Hmm.
So there's always going to be ups and downs. But he might he might be the one to take us further than we have been in the last 10, 15 years, and I hope he is with any manager that comes in. But it's just good to see where we're at a club and sort of the atmosphere around it at the moment.